I guess.
And Hill.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the 90th meeting of the Jacksonville Tourism Development Authority. And before we start today's meeting, I'd like to request a moment of silence in honor of the life and service of Director Ernie Wright. Thank you. First order of business today is the adoption of the agenda. We've had time to, thank you for the motion. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have the approval of the minutes for our regular meeting, November 17th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
No opposed? Okay. So we can move right on to our first action item, which is a FY 22-23 spending plan modification. Hear from Mr. Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. Good afternoon, gentlemen, and thank you for spending some time with us today on behalf of the business of the Tourism Development Authority. As you recall, we've worked with our partners at the Sports Commission as well as our friend Susan at the Recreation Department to make arrangement for what we're calling the Carolina Gloves Boxing Tournament, which will happen at the Commons later this month. And I can't say enough about Susan and her flexibility and willingness to accommodate us, because there were events that were planned at the Commons that she had to make other arrangements for, but she certainly understood and appreciated the value that this has for tourism and economic development in Jacksonville. So the request here is for us to modify the spending plan to allocate $1,500 for the event. Now, as you recall, they do their own promotion, so we're not providing any funding for that. But what they would like is a little bit of support for on-site security. They like to have at least 2 officers on site at all times while the event is in process, and that's what the $1,500 would go to. If you look at the spending plan that's in your agenda package, you'll see that this $1,500 is coming from the tourism-related side of the house as opposed to the promotions, and that, of course, is because this is not a promotion-related expenditure. So we talked with each one of the committees about this at your meetings earlier this month. There didn't seem to be any reservations, but to make this happen, we would need to officially modify the spending plan.
All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Any discussion? Anybody?
For a motion.
No discussion? Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the modified spending plan and appropriate money for the Carolina Glove Security.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. I'm looking forward to that. I think that should be an exciting new event. And my thanks to Susan, too. I know it was kind of a...
So we're looking at up to 200 boxers at one time, at one place. I'm interested to see how it's going to pan out. It should be exciting.
Will be. All right. Okay, second item on today's agenda is the Year of the Trail resolution. James.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. So this year, the state of North Carolina dedicated 2023 as the Year of the Trail. And with that, it's the goal of boosting awareness of the trails throughout the state. My apologies. The intent is to celebrate North Carolina's vast and diverse collection of trails, boost outdoor recreation, tourism, and promote safe and responsible use of trails, which we've also done locally by installing trail markers along our trails here. Locally, we have about 19 miles of trails and greenways that provide our citizens with an opportunity to explore downtown, the Commons, and the Lejeune Memorial Gardens. This year, we're also looking to extend the Rails to Trails, which currently ends on Cheney. We're going to extend that to the Sturgeon City Boardwalk with a project that's funded through NCDOT. So we're going to be doing that. And then staff is looking to support and promote the Year of the Trail in conjunction with the City of Jacksonville. And we've also already started brainstorming on how we might do that. And today, we are just looking for your support in approving a resolution to designate locally the Year of the Trail for 2023.
Any questions for Stephanie today?
If you don't mind, I'd like to add just a couple of things. This is an item that's also going to appear before the city council, hopefully at the next meeting. So, we'll have concurrent action there as well. But I think we all understand and appreciate the impact that recreation has on tourism and, of course, overnight stays. And so that's really the nexus of this request is the city, like Stephanie said, the city's done an excellent job in investing in trails over the years, and it has many benefits for our community, our residents, as well as our visitors. So this is just us acknowledging that it is a part of our mission in developing tourism through the community and supporting these types of things.
Okay. I do have a question, Anthony. So I remember there was some kind of hurdles getting from the trails to downtown, and you know what I'm talking about, the underpass, overpass, the configuration of the extension to
On
Sturgeon
Wilson
City?
Gate.
Oh, you're talking about in downtown along Railroad Street,
Right.
down to Court Street. So there are challenges there, and really I would characterize them as being historic development.
Okay.
Buildings that are constructed right up to the right-of-way line, so far and so forth. But Stephanie's actually the project manager on that, and she's been able to deconflict all of those issues. We did run into a situation where the project ended up being way over budget, but then we worked with the contractor, we worked with DOT, as well as got the support of City Council to make some changes to that project to bring it within budget. All that being said, it's under contract now and will be completed this year.
Wonderful. Okay, good job. Thank you. So I guess we need
I'd like to make a motion to have this resolution as part of our program. And since I was the recreation director when we started the Trails program, it pleases me to see the city. I didn't realize we had 19 miles. When we started, we had maybe 2 miles. So we made great progress. So I'm very happy to put this in the form of a motion.
Thank you. Second? All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We'll get that resolution going.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Okay, so now we get to get some presentations, I believe. Number 3 is the Veteran Powwow, Onslow Veterans Powwow debrief. It's going to be, hello.
I'm right here, Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you guys for having me here to give our after action for the Onslow Veterans Powwow. Thank you guys for supporting it for 2 years. We are going up on our 3rd year. It has grown tremendously. Our first year, we had over 3,200 spectators, and we nearly doubled it the second year. So word is getting out that our powwow is the one to come to in the state. It just was recognized in the Veteran NC magazine as one of the 3 powwows they mentioned in there. And that's comparison to Lumbee, which is the largest tribe on the East Coast, and the powwow that's held at the National Museum up in Raleigh. So we're up there, gentlemen. So thank you for supporting the initiative. But just a little bit about the powwow and how it started. As most of you guys know, I'm a retired Sergeant Major in the Marine Corps, spent 26.5 years in. I am Isanti Sioux and Ho-Chunk Nation. And while I was in the Marine Corps, there wasn't a lot of Native American resources available around service bases. So not only did we sacrifice the normal stuff that service members sacrifice, but we also sacrifice our culture. Because if we weren't able to make it home to a sweat, to a powwow, to a gathering, or some type of celebration, we went without. Because duty commitments called If you're deployed in Afghanistan, you can't make it home to that. We're here at the bases, and there's nothing around the bases. You know, if I want Native American food, I just can't walk outside the gate and get it. So it was very important for me to establish a powwow here in our community because we are the largest Marine Corps base on the East Coast, and we are an hour and a half away from the largest Army base. So it's good to know that we established it. It is succeeding. We are putting heads in the beds here. Just recently at the powwow, we confirmed the 78 of them. We do know that a lot of our guests are staying in Airbnbs and other hotels that aren't using our powwow code. So we are in the process of figuring how to capture that data also, because I think that's very important. We had vendors coming from New Jersey, Minnesota, as far as Arizona, to be a part of our powwow. We had all the tribes in North Carolina attend the powwow, but also include people coming from Virginia, the Midwest, all the way as far as California to attend our powwow. So a little history about the powwow. If you're on a powwow circuit, and we're gearing to be on that, families plan their vacations around the powwow circuit. So if you're going to be a tier powwow, which my goal is to make us that here in North Carolina, and we're getting there, people will plan their vacations around that. They save their money to attend a powwow. They get their regalia ready for the powwow, and that's how they do their vacations. They pull their kids out of school to attend the powwow because that's all part of their cultural. And that's where Onslow Veterans Powwow is heading. And it just goes to show with just this last powwow, we had 5,825 spectators at that weekend event. And that's with us competing with the other veteran activities that were going on in the community. We had residents coming up from Virginia Beach, Myrtle Beach, Georgia, Florida. So we had people coming from all over the area to come to the powwow. So I definitely want to let you guys know that the funding that's going to the advertisement is working because we're reaching people outside of our community. And I think that's the goal of the advertising that we need to do, is to reach that population. Like I said, the powwow circuit, once you're on that circuit, it's a good circuit to be on because just word of mouth will travel within that circuit. And a lot of times the word of mouth spread that first year for us. The advertising that Teresa and her team did last year brought even more. Like I said, it almost doubled in the second year. So this third year, I'm thinking if we don't double again, I'd be surprised. So I'm looking at 7,000 to 8,000 spectators this year coming up. And that's not bad for the third year that it is going to be going on in the area. Other than that, I think I do want to add that every year my plan was to add something new because what we want to do is entice the people to keep coming. So this last year we added a teepee. So we set up a teepee, a 20-foot teepee, which is very large. Set that up, and we also did an inipi, which is a sweat lodge. The one you go in is like the spiritual meditation type thing. So we added those two items, and they'll continue to be on. This year, we're going to do a water event because the tribes here are water tribes. You know, they have water ceremonies. You know, they're canoers, they're kayakers. So we want to add that portion to the powwow. So what we're going to do is, usually powwows have something, whether it's a 5K or whether it's a horseshoe tournament, a softball game, they have something, another activity going on. But I felt like since we are known, one, for the dugout canoe, that is definitely a large canoe that's stationed right here in our museum, that we kind of highlight and showcase that. So people would want to come and see that. But start the powwow off early morning, sunrise, with a canoe paddle event. So that's going to be new this year. I'm excited for it. My daughter is planning that for us along with the Kohari tribe. Since they do hold a canoe event down there, we're going to pull in their expertise to help us get that going. But that would start off with a water blessing ceremony that a lot of people never seen, but that's going to be open to the public for people to come out and see that and enjoy that. We already have 2 Hawaiian canoes that are down in Wilmington, that they're going to come up here for that, and they're going to spread the word throughout their organizations too about this event that's coming up in our area. So that's going to reach a whole new population also, to bring them to our waterways here. So I'm excited to incorporate that for this coming year. So the plan is every year, add something new to make it bigger, make it grow, make them excited to come back to see what we're going to offer next. But I definitely wanted to present that to you guys, let you know what's going ahead and that your money is well spent.
Well, thank you very much for that. I've got a question or two.
Yes.
When is the next powwow?
Next powwow is November 4th and 5th.
Okay.
So the first weekend in November. And what we want to do, Chairman, is make sure we keep it that same time, because when you're on a powwow circuit, they're going to plan for that. So we're going to keep it at that first weekend in November.
Great. Well, congratulations on your success. We're
Thank
glad
you.
to be part of it, and I'm sure you can count our continued support.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like
Yes,
to
sir.
ask a question, just out of curiosity. When you have a powwow, are any tribes invited? All tribes were invited?
Yep, ours is an Onslow Veterans Powwow, so that powwow is specific to veterans, but our powwow is also open to the public. So a lot of tribes you go to, it's closed to the public, so you can't go to it, and some tribes are only for their tribal members.
Right.
So ours is considered an intertribal one, so all tribes are welcome, and the public's welcome, and then, of course, it's honoring veterans, so that's a whole new aspect of it also.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? No, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I didn't have no PowerPoints, but I figured you guys were tired of them like I am.
Thanks, you're fine.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, if I could add
Yeah,
one thing,
please.
though. For those of you who may not know Raquel, and the folks at home who may not know her, if there's anybody in this town that can get something done, it's definitely her. Okay, and her success over the past 2 years is a perfect example of that. Not to mention the fact that she's been an excellent partner to work with. So there are some of the events that, we support them and they're good partners, but Raquel and her team, they are excellent partners. And I think that the most, the way that we can demonstrate that the most is the fact that they actually moved their event to correspond with our Veterans Tribute. Okay, and that's one of the things that we're hoping to do, and to continue into the future to grow this momentum, appreciate the veterans for their service, but then also appreciate their cultural heritage as well at the same time. So if you've never been to the powwow, I would certainly suggest that you do, because it's quite an event. It's very impressive. Thank you.
Raquel, is there a particular website that you'd like to share for everyone here or anyone watching that might be interested in more information about that?
Yes, it's onslowpowwow.org.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's great. Okay, number 4, holiday industry collaboration. Hello, Teresa.
Hey.
So we just wanted to give you a brief update. You know that we have worked, is this working? Yeah. In collaboration with Onslow County Tourism for quite some time. And that relationship has continued to grow. We have been attending the hospitality meetings that they coordinate and oversee, and also the TAC meetings, the Tourism Advisory Council meetings, to the point that we've done a couple of presentations. Our goal is to, and they're very welcoming, as is Salem, and our goal is to continue to build and foster the relationships with our hospitality partners so that we can count on them and they know what the TDA is doing. It has been mentioned a little while back that they weren't sure what the TDA did because they always heard from Onslow Tourism. So it was, they welcome our input and our presentations. So what we do is really just tell them what we're up to, tell them our goals and what we're doing to advance overnight stays and tourism economy. So we have, one of the things that we know that we differ from the county strongly is the way we handle our events. And it's critical for us to have those hotel relationships so that they can partner with some of the events. So we're going to start working one-on-one to get to know some of them so they understand what the events need and we understand what the hoteliers desire. So we're working on that. Deanna and I are working on that together. So just wanted to give you a quick update and let you know what we were up to.
Thank you, Teresa.
This is, sir, I hate to keep interjecting here,
please
but this, I feel like this is a pretty significant step in the right direction in building and fostering the relationship with our hoteliers. And gentlemen, I'd really appreciate if you might speak up on that a little bit. But Teresa mentioned that the hoteliers weren't 100% clear as to what we do and why we exist. And so that makes it a little bit difficult from their perspective to kind of advocate our cause and then also, justify collecting that additional tax. So we want to build that relationship just like we're doing with all of our events and our nonprofits. We want to build that relationship with the hoteliers so that we can have the communication that's needed to support the events, right? And then also bring opportunity to our hoteliers to connect with things that we're planning, right? There's a pretty large disconnect in that communication right now, and we're trying to overcome that so that we can all work together better as a team.
I think that's a very beneficial strategy. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget from what we're doing in our efforts that, the hotelier experience in a post-pandemic world is, very operationally driven. Staff, there are so many changes. And so it is a different world. And so I think this is a phenomenal step to engage.
A great engagement and open communication about how to work the events and how to come back to you guys with ROI for some of the funding, et cetera. And there was great participation. So they're all willing to step up.
I think one of the things that I've found, even though I haven't been directly involved with their meetings, but one of the things that I've noticed is that, just like a lot of the other industries in town, we have a lot of staff turnover, which further complicates the relationship building process with them. So that's why this is going to be an enduring thing. This isn't something we're just working on in 2023 and then we're going to walk away. We're going to have to continue fostering that relationship, and that's really just going to be through frequent communication.
Does the hotelier have an organization that they meet locally with somebody that's in, I can see that that's not
You got the
true.
group.
As of right now, it's TAC that Teresa mentioned, Tourism Advisory Committee, and the hospitality group. So at the Chamber monthly. I think it has been a little more formalized in the past, but again, it was changes post-pandemic.
Yeah, I understand.
And,
I understand.
but I think I think timing is great for that too. But again, even with TAC, you still don't have a list of everyone at every hotel to know who's not there, really, and who you haven't technically met yet. So, I mean, it gets challenging in that area, but I think that's going to be one of the resolves of these efforts.
Well, in January was the largest participation they've ever had.
Yes.
Right.
So in probably 5 years. So that was good. It's encouraging.
Anyone else?
Just another step in the right direction, sir.
Well,
Hopefully,
I mean, in the
directors-
past, there was more participation from the hoteliers. Like, I used to know every manager, and there's been, as you said, turnover. And, when you're taking over the hotel, you're not worried about tourism. You're worried about all the other stuff. And they probably never even heard of the TDA or what roles we have involved in that. So I've talked to Teresa, and I've talked about this. It needs to be rebuilt, is my opinion.
Yeah, there's been a,
and get the community back of the hoteliers. We're not all, I mean, there's communication that needs to be involved.
yeah, and that's great, Tommy, for that. There's been such an internal focus, you know, ensuring that whatever challenges the hoteliers are facing, that visitors to the area and our guests never knew that any challenge had ever presented.
What is, I know some areas have visitor bureaus, and I assume that's a group of hoteliers as well as the tourism development folks, as well as whatever else. I don't need to, you know.
Restaurants, probably.
Restaurants, hospitality, yeah.
They tend to take on different forms depending on what the actual location needs and the folks who want to be part of it. But, you know, this is moving kind of in that direction. You know, one thing that we know for certain is that we share the common mission. That mission being bringing people to Jacksonville and filling up the hotels and the restaurants and generating economic activity. And I think going into these meetings, the hospitality committee as well as the tourism advisory committee meeting, going into those meetings with that message is really kind of unifying. And as we continue to work on these issues, I think the hoteliers will see more value and more of them will want to participate. So I don't know if we're ever going to end up as a visitors bureau, but we're working on very similar functions as to what they do.
Well, and partly why else I brought that up, because I know we're in the process of looking at a welcome center, and, you know, what all that might involve too, so.
It's all part of the thought process as to what we want to be when we grow up, you know, and I don't think we're 100% resolved on that, but we're moving in the direction to build these partnerships and build the strength of our tourism economy for sure.
Sounds like a good job, good opportunity. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to item number 5, our FY 23-24 revenue projection.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, you have to listen to me again for another 10 minutes or so, but
I
we'll
see
try
some-
to keep this quick because you've already heard it in your
I
committee
see
meetings.
Sabrina's inherited Gail's need for airtime, so go ahead.
I'll be happy to hand it over. You want to talk about revenue, Sabrina? So, last time we were together in this room, we talked about budget and what the schedule would look like, and this is what we showed you. There didn't seem to be any reservations about it, so this is the schedule that we're progressing with. The intent here, to help Sabrina and her staff develop the city's budget, is to hopefully have ours adopted by May. Because of course, ours has to be integrated into the city's budget, be adopted by the council before we have spending authority. So we're here in January, and what we'd like to talk to you about is the revenue projection for next year. Current year, the occupancy tax is budgeted at $1.1 million, and as you recall, that's up from last year and even years prior to that. This is the first year that it's moved from $975,000 in 6 or 7 years, I believe. And we feel strongly that we're going to hit that mark, if not exceed it. We did appropriate some fund balance. That's from the promotion side of things. As you recall, we've got a fund balance there that we're trying to draw down to support events and other promotions type activities. It's at $125,000, and then other revenue sources being penalties for late payments and interest, miscellaneous stuff, puts us at 1.2. So if you look at the history here, you can see that 18, 19, and 20, yes. The pattern was pretty erratic there, and we all know what happened. So in 19, we were experiencing the aftermath of Hurricane Florence. So a lot of people were posted up in hotels while their homes were being reconstructed. And then once we get towards 2020, that's when COVID really started creeping in. But then, you know, we go past 21 and 22, and the revenue continued to grow. For 23, you can see it's shown at a little bit below the trend line there, but we are expecting it to exceed the $1.1 million that we've budgeted. Now, I show you this trend line and the fact, to demonstrate the fact that it's kind of difficult to estimate what the actual revenue take will be. So what we're recommending to you is that we just maintain it for the coming year. There's not a whole lot of value, in my opinion, to increase it, especially with the market being somewhat volatile as it is. And we were able to do really good things this year with the revenue that was allocated. The fund balance for promotions did grow in 2022. So if we continue forward with that 15% appropriated fund balance policy that we kind of informally put together a few years ago, that would increase the fund balance allocation to 139. All that being said, the bottom line budget would be slightly higher than what we're working with today. Depending on what we see from the event applications and the nonprofits, et cetera, and because we're continuing to see that promotions fund balance grow a little bit, we may actually come back to you with a budget that appropriates a little bit more of the fund balance, but there'll be more detail on that as we move forward. So really, I don't believe we need any formal action here, just general consensus that we're comfortable with the 1.1. If we are, then we will go ahead and build the budget and present that to you at the next meeting.
Any comments? Everybody good with that? All right, Anthony.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So I see the tourism-related report is a written report in your agenda. And we'll move on to the Promotions Committee report starting with the hoteliers update. Okay, Chris.
So the Promotions Committee met on January 13th. We reviewed application forms for the event and nonprofit grants. I think starting at the end of February, the committee will begin to receive the applications. And then around early March, around March 10th, we're going to evaluate and score the applications. And then around mid-March, present the recommendations to the tourism-related committee and then address that going forward in a session. We discussed after-action reporting for the events and ways to quantify the performance of the events and capture an accurate room night count from those. And using prior year metrics to compare is it growing, is it flat, and the performance of the event itself. And a preference for events that occur within the city limits, obviously. And we discussed progress on the webpage, and correct me if anything's changed, but I believe it's targeted to be online February 2nd. Still on February 2nd. So very excited about that.
Flip. Is that flip
With
web
flip
page?
two.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a world of difference, particularly from the back end, but public facing, it's going to be a different world too. It's going to be very welcomed. Just as a follow-up, I guess, to the revenue projections that we just talked about, obviously our industry, the hoteliers it's an annual cycle. That's with recreation, punctuated by seasons, and currently in an off period, which is annual. So but the nature of that cycle, the occupancy rates fluctuate under the pressure of seasonality, resulting in fluctuations of the tourist flows. Corporate travel remains somewhat soft. There's primarily a shortened booking window with that, to where there's some delayed decision-making when it comes to corporate travel. Just cautionary delays. But just statewide and nationally, everything indicates that there could be an uptick for corporate meetings this year within the hotels, which is a little different than corporate just typical weekly corporate travel, because it's sometimes easy to forget that we're still at a period to where this is the first time some of these teams have started to meet again. It's a little difficult to predict or forecast, but there's certainly some very positive indicators in some of the information that you see within the industry. Other than that, unless you have anything to add, I don't think there's anything specific that I would add to that.
Not really.
Do y'all have any program where you work on trying to get the meetings? Do you have any sort of an outreach, or do you have any program that you do on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different prospecting channels that we have for
Okay.
that. Not necessarily drawing it to the area, but there are channels that the hoteliers have access to that within associations and certain corporate segments that, you know, American Express Travel, there are certain channels that are available that inspire a competitive nature for solicitation for these businesses.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
Chris and Rick. Both of you, yep. Get it back. All right, so now we're going to move on to the marketing update. Okay. Oh, good, Lisa.
Gentlemen, Chris gave away just a couple little previews of what we were going to talk about next, which is the website. So thank you so much for letting us know that February 2nd is our scheduled date for the launch for the new website. We're very excited about it. We've been working on this process for about 7 months now, 8 months. It takes a lot on the background, on the back end, as well as working with Civic Plus, who is our website host, as well as with Teresa and Susan and the media team. We've all been working together to try to provide that new, fresh look and make sure the background is working the way we want so that our users and our visitors will have that experience that they need. So what I'm showing you right now is the current website, which has been in existence for about 8 years now. And with that existence, we really haven't had any updates in technology. And as in 8 years in a website and technology age where things change daily, it has caused a lot of issues for us as we've been moving forward. This site has stayed pretty stagnant. The information is there and the content is there, but the look and the freshness of it and the way that we program in the background has been a struggle and a challenge for us. So we have moved forward and we're very excited about that. So without further ado, I'll just show you a little preview. This is a static preview. I can't show you the live site right now because it is not live. But I took some still images of looking at it through the back end to give you a preview of what our new site's going to look like. This is the top of the homepage. So if you'll notice the difference from the old to the new, just in the look itself, there's a lot more imagery there. There's more text that goes along with that imagery that will help visitors find what they want right away. Our goal is to have less clicks and for them to find the information that they want a lot quicker. The different highlighted stories, I guess you could call them, about Lejeune Memorial Gardens or family fun or getting on the water, those types of messages can change frequently and very instantly. Whereas with the old site, it was a lot harder for us to change that kind of message. So this is going to be a great improvement for us. It's going to make our time much more efficient, and hopefully that look for everybody, the public, when they come to see it, a lot nicer as well. The social media icons on the side of the screen, will also float up and down, and it'll have a much newer, kind of fresher interaction and user experience as well. So. And then below that, you'll see the International Food Trail. We just decided to highlight this for this example for you. It's something else that we can pop out and highlight there. So there's 5 examples right here of how somebody can get information very quickly. We've also added some quick links at the top of the web page for users to get to as well. And we can change those at will. So one of the challenges, other additional challenges that we had on the old site was that certain areas of the site were locked down, and it was very difficult for us to make those changes. Now we can make them a lot easier. We have fresher looking icons, which are quick links for users to get to find the information that they want. These truncate very easily on the mobile experience. All of this is also designed, by the way, the new website, to be a much better mobile experience in the way it cascades down, or that it crops or shrinks images to make sure that the mobile user can have a nice, clean experience as well. The calendar below that, where it says January right now, with the events coming up in January, some of them we've passed, so I did this a few days ago. Before, we were not able to see anything except the existing month that we were in. Now users can, on the home page, also click through to go to February, March, and look further down to when they are going to visit. It makes it easier and a quicker experience for them to find out what events are happening during their visit that they can attend. And down at the bottom of the home page, you'll just see a slew of images. And basically what this is a wonderful user experience. It's all our live Instagram feeds that we are using a third-party aggregate to come in and just fill the screen. We can easily change that to include Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, which are the different social media platforms that we use. But it's also an additional way that users can have that quick link to that specific story, or they see an image, and that's one of the reasons that we used Instagram, is because the images are so powerful on that social media platform that they can click on the image and learn more about it as well. Down below, it'll be easy to get a visitor's guide and sign up for the monthly newsletter as well. You can't see it now because this is a static site, but when you scroll over with your mouse, it will have the changing experience. It's just a way for your eye to catch it and say, oh, that's where the user's guide is. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and download that for later use. And on the secondary pages, there's just a couple samples here. We have a nicer experience where we can individually change from page to page what that main image might be when you land on the home page. And also, this is where the back end comes into play. The way that we can populate images and video, we have more space on the screen to do so. And the user experience is that right now on the old site, that image only grows to a certain width for you, but if you want to see something much larger, it grows a little bit more. It's more dynamic. They use what they call widgets to create the page, and the way that it fills the spaces, it looks for the most space that there is. So the end user experience is I get to see the pictures much more clearly and bigger and right in my face, and have that information there for you. That's pretty much it for just a short preview. Make sure you log in to visit jacksonvillenc.com on February 2nd. Let us know what your feedback is. We want to know if that user experience is different and better for you. We hope that it is. If you have any suggestions for content or any type of changes, please let us know. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
That's good. It's exciting.
Great, thank you so much.
Just the screenshots look good.
Thank you.
Good job.
It was a team effort.
Special thank you to Lisa, the media team, as well as Susan and Teresa. I don't think that we could oversell the amount of work that's gone in behind the scenes on this. It's unfortunate because technology is supposed to make our life easier, but our old webpage, in this case, really didn't. And so they did a lot of work to make this happen, and it's going to be very impressive come February 2nd.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Thank you.
Good job.
So I wanted to let you know that Susan can't hear us. So I guess there's some new equipment or something Lisa said, so she can't really hear us. She's going to do the presentation. I don't know how we're going to cue her that she's going to start talking, but if you have any questions, Anthony and we'll try to fill in.
Way better. Way better.
Camera. Yeah.
Text?
Do a little tap dance
I think
and then point at
Lisa,
it.
yeah,
I was going to say, tap the screen. You know.
I think Lisa's texting her.
Can't hear us. I think she was just playing with
Hi,
us.
everybody. I'm so glad to see you. I'm going to just ask because I can't see it. What is actually up on the screen right now?
Year of the Trail.
No, she wanted to see.
Okay, you guys, I'm just going to go for it, and we're going to see how this works out.
Why don't we cut the live feed and we'll...
Okay, we're going to go for it. I'm going to tell you we're working right now on our Year of the Trail options. We've met with Salem and Onslow Tourism. We worked with Susan Baptist. There are going to be a series of events that we'll participate or partner on, and we're very, very excited about that. Some of that trail content is going to be on the launch of the new site. Moving along from that, I wanted to let you know that Visit North Carolina is now, their site, visitnc.com, is hosting content on the International Food Trail. And we did a partnership with North Carolina. We paid for that content, and they are in the process. Well, it's already up. You can find our content on that now. So that's exciting. So that means that all the people who visit the North Carolina site, especially if they're interested in food or culinary things or the beach, will hopefully see the information about our food trail. Moving along past that, I also wanted to let you know every year we do a pitch. Teresa and I work together. Lisa designs our pitch sheet, and then I present to the editors of the Visit North Carolina Travel Guide. Their travel guide is produced by the people who own Better Homes and Gardens. We have a great relationship with them. And the Onslow Powwow was included in a wonderful story about Native heritage in North Carolina in this year's brand new guide. Now, what is especially exciting about this, y'all have heard me talk about this before, is that the guide reaches 500,000 people. Well, it reaches more than 500,000, but there are 500,000 copies printed. And then some of these issues are polybagged in with a copy of the Better Homes and Gardens magazine to key markets that are North Carolina drive markets. So we're very, very excited about that inclusion. And I'm so proud that the powwow, especially after hearing from Raquel, is one of the things that they chose to include from us this year. I think now Teresa's going to talk to you all about some events, and we'll get those technical glitches worked out for next time. Thanks to all of you, and have a great, great day.
Thanks, Susan.
Before we get to the events, I do want to bring up something really, really cool that has happened for Hampton Inn and for one of Chris's wonderful employees. The Waffle Lady, who you've heard us refer to as before, is just a phenomenal, phenomenal woman, and she is the most humble and sweetest person ever. She creates how many? 80 different, 200 different types of waffles, Chris? I mean, she really is amazing. And she was nominated in the NCRLA, which is the Restaurant and Lodging Association, and she actually won Lodging Employee of the Year award. So that is a huge, huge deal for Regina and for the hotel as well. Chris, anything you want to add about that?
It's a very big deal. And she is she just represents the essence of what we do in this industry so well, and we're so fortunate to have her in the community at one of our hotels.
And really for the traveler, it's all about the stay, right? If they're making memories, it's all about their stay, and she really contributes that and personifies that in a big way.
If I could, Teresa.
Absolutely.
So a little bit more
Yes.
positive on top of the positive of the award itself is we got a little excited and pushed this out over social media. Was it last week? Earlier
Yeah.
this week, something like that?
Yep.
And, we've heard of things going viral. Well, this went viral. Lisa, I believe, is she here?
Uh-huh.
So last I saw it was something like 600,000 people had seen this, okay?
Over 500,000 people,
And,
yep.
and how many? 6,000 or 7,000 comments or something like that?
6,300 so far?
In this day and age, for us to see that type of range with no negativity, that's amazing. And so, this is a really big thing for Regina, for Hampton Inn, for Chris, and for this, our community. And I just love to see how much positivity came out of that post.
So if you check it out on Facebook, you'll see, and just look through some of the comments. It's really, it'll make you feel good.
And I think it's a fantastic example that the hotels are our communities. That's who our travelers meet when they're here. And that's what makes them. That's what it's just it reflects who we are as a community. And I think this type of content, this type of story is just, people crave this type of story. It feels good.
Especially in today's world. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they will honor Regina at an event in Durham, the latter part of February. So Susan and I and Chris are going to go up and attend and support her for that. I'm sure we'll bring a couple pictures back for your March meeting.
Bring some waffles back.
Chris,
Yeah, I mean, we
hook
need
it
a live
up.
demonstration.
I know some local families that just go to the Hampton Inn that morning just to have breakfast, they,
I'm sure there are.
right, they don't spend the night, they just go to have breakfast.
Good to know, and
There's a menu of approximately 180. She's creative.
She's awesome, and she's so sweet. So just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of the events that are coming up. We've got the Jazz in the City in February and the Engaged Onslow Bridal Expo. That's going really well. The Grand Prix Series has their St. Patty's Engineer Challenge in March, and the Mud, Sweat, and Tears in May, and then, of course, the Marine Corps Half Marathon. You'll remember that when you fund the Marine Corps Half Marathon, it's a year in advance because they have to promote it for the whole year. Then we have the Riverwalk Arts Festival in April downtown, and the One Community Pride Festivals in June. June's loaded. We have the Pacific Arts Festival and the Ali Temple Charity Ball are both in June. So all this is underway. And that concludes your marketing report.
well, thank you so much, Teresa.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Really good. Anybody? Okay. So we're at the end of our agenda, ready for any director's comments we may have.
Just exciting to see all this grow. Just from, some of it I saw from the outside, looking in and seeing, bringing the Tourism Development Authority up and moving it, and it just seems like it's snowballing now, and appreciate everybody's efforts. It really is great.
I think that's just a great point to make. There's just some great things. There's a great team in place. Everybody's so devoted to this, and there's so many people behind the curtain that we do have a really good team in place.
John?
Mr. Chairman, when I sat down, I didn't have any legal issues, but when I heard Mr. Davis give his report, it's like that little light bulb went off in your head.
Uh-oh.
No,
you do.
We got to, it's all about a quorum. If 3 of you had met today, that would have established a quorum because you do not count the vacant seat. Of course, we've got all 5 of you here. For Mr. Warden and Mr. Hagan and their subcommittee on tourism related, there's no problem. They can continue to meet. But for you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Davis, and Mr. Young, you now compose a quorum. So when your subcommittee meets, there'll have to be public notice, Madam Clerk. Now, I want you to know that we've given the council the information as far as filling Mr. Wright's vacancy, and they are considering that now. But I just wanted, again, that light bulb went off, that when 3 of you are gathered, of the 5, you now constitute a quorum, where before it would take 4 of you. Do you have any questions?
I think we can come up with a workaround.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean,
That's fine. But again,
I think you just shared your light bulb.
oh, okay, somebody's going to
Well,
stay
thanks.
home. Okay, that's fine.
well, thanks for that, John.
Thank you.
That's an important point.
Yeah,
Like I said,
thank
we
you.
can,
Thank you.
we can make it not happen.
Okay, very good. Our clerk would appreciate that especially.
Keeping her happy is important, we know.
Yeah.
So, all right, so anybody else before we adjourn? Okay, then I'll adjourn this meeting of the Jacksonville Tourism Development Authority. Thank you.